I feel like there are a lot of members of Donald Trump's cabinet who spend most of their time when they're not committing crimes or doing corruption on behalf of Trump looking for rakes to step on. They're just scouting out rakes, looking for ways to embarrass themselves. And that's exactly what we saw from Donald Trump's EPA director, Lee Zeldin, today, when he got in a screaming match with Senator Whitehouse after caught in multiple lies, perjuring himself, and then had a meltdown when he was confronted by Senator Adam Schiff. It was a complete mess. We're going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, of course, we are going to cover both of these interactions in a complete meltdown, but let's start with the first, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse.
Today, you stated during your House E&C hearing that you personally reviewed all these grants. Here's what you said. I was the one who made the decision. And I made the decision after doing individual review. I personally reviewed every single grant that I canceled. Now, you guys are going to have to start getting your stories straight because there are three completely different statements and they cannot all be true. It cannot be that Voiles personally himself conducted the review of 781.
He did.
And that Coogan saw to it that it was individually done.
Others did. It's a crazy concept, Senator, but maybe more than one person was individually reviewing these grants. Maybe they were working on it for more than one day, Senator. Have you thought about that concept? What about the fact that
their
when
testimony is that they did it all on one day? No, I do not.
Every single time.
I do not agree with that, Administrator.
Senator.
He swore in court that he did it on one day. So you can't now come in and say that that's false.
On a day after you worked on it, busting your ass for a while to get all of your ducks lined up,
that's
to do all the research, to ask questions, to make sure you're making responsible decisions.
None of that is what he said.
Because they're not worried that there's going to be some ranking member at the
None of that is what he said.
Who doesn't care about the facts.
None of that is what he said. I'm using the facts as your employees
I
stated
conducted
them.
an individual review of everything, and that concept doesn't work for you.
When did you conduct an individualized review of 781
because
grants?
We have a zero tolerance
policy. Will you show me your schedule?
Dollars. We inherit something. You don't care about wasting money.
Will you show me your schedule?
You don't care about wasting money, but the Trump administration does, Senator.
Will you show me your schedule?
Our schedule's publicly released. We don't put on the schedule every single moment of the day.
Will you show me your schedule to prove your assertion that you did individualized review of 781?
I'm under oath telling you that I was reviewing this stuff and working on it almost every single day.
And the problem
because
with
when I was before this committee, I was asked by Senator Ricketts, if confirmed, would I immediately make this the top priority to go through all the grant funding going through EPA to make sure that we were cracking down on every waste, every aspect of abuse, because I have to come back here in front of Senator Ricketts today. And even though you don't care about wasting tax dollars, Senator Ricketts does.
And I'm
going to do my job because the American public cares about us not wasting tax dollars.
And the problem with your assertion here today is that it is belied by your own employees' sworn statements in court and by the decision of the Department of Justice to admit that what you say isn't true.
You're not grasping the fact that we would have multiple employees looking at these grants. That concept just escapes you like that's even a possibility.
The only thing about that is that that's not true.
You don't care about 99% of the story.
That's not true according to your own employees'
You're not grasping
testimony.
I don't know what to say to you. You're insisting on the fact.
I'm insisting on the facts. That's exactly what I'm insisting on. I'm insisting on the facts, and I now have three different versions of the facts, including Department of Justice lawyers
working on this every
who
single day
admitted in court that what you're saying now is not true.
We're not going to waste dollars just because you insist on EPA lighting taxpayer dollars on fire. The American taxpayers, they put President Trump in office because of people like you. They have Republicans in charge of the House and Senate because of people like you. Because you don't care about 99% of the story. You don't want me to go through the list of all the evidence of waste and abuse.
No, what I want you to do...
in conflicts of interest.
What I want you to do...
unqualified recipients. You don't care about...
What I want you to do is explain why the Department of Justice lawyers representing EPA in court under a duty of candor have said that everything you've just said isn't true. That's what I want. Get me that answer.
When you get caught in a lie, when you are perjuring yourself before Congress and you resort to just screaming and yelling and personal attacks, you don't come out on top of that, right? Like, are they aware of the perception when you just have yourself a little bit of a meltdown? You don't come out the big winner. You don't dominate that interaction. When Democrats win back the House and the Senate, we need to be holding weekly, daily, hourly hearings with Donald Trump's cabinet officials because they are just so incompetent. And I think those are the two themes that really break through in this administration: the incompetence and, of course, the corruption. And some of that we saw called out by Senator Adam Schiff in this takedown right here.
The gentleman from California, Mr. Schiff, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Master Zeldin, you've only been at the EPA for a few months, but in that time, you've done more to dismantle this agency than probably all of your predecessors put together. That may be a source of pride for you, but it is not for the American people. You've unlawfully terminated grants without justification. You've fired and pushed out some of the best scientists who inform EPA's decision-making. You refuse to spend money that Congress has appropriated to the EPA by law. And you've launched a pro-polluter effort to delete dozens of environmental protections. On top of all this, you've launched an effort to overturn California's Clean Air Act waivers that improve the quality of air breathed by 40 million Californians and by millions more in other states who have adopted California's high standards. That effort, for which my colleagues have decided to eliminate the filibuster to achieve, is not exactly what anyone would call cooperative federalism. But it's your budget that's the ultimate proof of your priorities. You propose cutting America's environmental agency by 55%, meaning that in your view, and that of President Trump, more than half of the environmental efforts of the EPA, more than half of the efforts to make sure Americans have clean air and clean water are just a waste. They're just a waste. Meaning that Californians and people all over the country, when they breathe the air, thanks to your good work, it'll mean there's more diesel and more other particulate matter in the air. When they drink a glass of water, they may not be able to see it, but this water that Americans drink is going to have more chemicals like PFAS, forever chemicals in their water. This will be your good work. I want to be very specific about the legacy you're going to leave if you're successful in eliminating half of our efforts to clean our water and our air. Your legacy will be more lung cancer. It'll be more bladder cancer. It'll be more head and neck cancer. It'll be more breast cancer. It'll be more leukemia and pancreatic cancer, more liver cancer, more skin cancer, more kidney cancer, more testicular cancer, more colorectal cancer, more rare cancers of innumerable varieties. That will be your legacy. I don't know that that's a legacy that anyone should want to have. My kids are going to be breathing that air just like yours. My family's going to be drinking the water just like yours. We may not be able to pinpoint just who gets cancer because you've done away with half the budget of those looking out for our clean water and clean air. But it's going to be somebody's kids, it's going to be somebody's family. To put this in more specific terms, there are 22 grants frozen by the EPA focused on improving health and reducing pollution, many of which directly impact children. For example, one project in Santa Ana, California, provided funding to help detect and prevent lead poisoning in children. According to the census, about 10% of the population in Santa Ana are under the age of 9. With a population of about 310,000 people, that means that 31,000 children are at risk of lead poisoning in Santa Ana without this funding. What is it about this grant that you and EPA believe is problematic enough to freeze this funding and put potentially 31,000 children at risk?
Senator, who is the grant applicant?
This is to the city of Santa Ana.
You have the biggest,
And are
you have the
you-
biggest
are you-
state, so
and
we're
are
going to have
you-
to go through every single list of the grant.
Well,
By the way, with that wind up, by the way, I understand that you were an aspiring fiction writer. I see why.
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand your view that you can cut half of the agency and it won't affect people's health or their water, their air. That, to me, is a big fiction, Mr. Zeldin.
You
And
forgot
and
about the fact of cleaning
I
up
have to
after
think,
LA
Mr. Zeldin,
wildfires
I think,
or
Mr. Zeldin,
present when I was in San Diego.
if your children were
With the
drinking
Tijuana
water,
River sewage crisis,
if your
apparently we're
children
going
were
out on our
drinking
own for
water
that.
in Santa Ana, Mr. Zeldin, maybe you wouldn't be so cavalier about whether there was lead in their water. Maybe you would give a damn instead of coming in here and suggesting that any grant that takes lead out of the water must be waste, fraud, or abuse because
The
you
gentleman's
need
time has
because
expired.
you
Who said
need
that? The whole
the
thing,
money for a
everything
tax
you
cut
said,
for rich people
your time. It's all
because
make-believe.
you're totally beholden to the oil industry.
The
is
gentleman's time.
You could give a rat's ass about how much
is.
cancer
Because
your agency
you're trying to
causes.
destroy.
The
Impeach,
gentleman's
resist.
time has expired.
We always say of Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans that the cruelty is the point. That certainly is the case. They want things to break. They want us to think government can't work. I always come back to this Rustbot quote because I think it is so important that he, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, the MAGA Republicans, they want federal workers to feel traumatized. When Doge started, they were doing their mass purges, their mass layoffs. They knew they couldn't fire everyone. They had to try to get people to quit. So they wanted to make their lives miserable. That's what they want us to do with our perception of government. That's how they want to change our minds. They want to break government so badly that we give up on it so that they can continue to buy up elections, so they can continue to steal what they want to call entitlements, but programs you deserve, you have paid into, and should, of course, exist in the wealthiest country in the world. But no, they want you to think that they're entitlements. That's how they want to shift the narrative. We can't let them do that. There are not people in this country who don't deserve the human right that should be health care. That's how the Republicans think. Some people just not deserving. They shouldn't have it. Health care. The Make America Healthy Again movement doesn't think some people should have health care. That's a little confusing. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I think we go ahead and call it out. And we're going to on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.